Wednesday, January 4th, 2016, Maneco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. I like to talk about reflation today. That's a theme right now in the markets, in the mainstream media, financial media, that the stock market is doing really well. Dow is almost at 20,000, mainly because Trump is going to reflate the economy. He's going to bring in, he's going to be good for U.S. business. He's going to spend in infrastructure. This is comments by people who, before the election, thought that there was no chance that Trump was going to win, that Hillary was a shoo-in, and if Trump did win, it would be the end of the world. Economically, politically, the markets would crash. And I guess they were partly true, because on election night, just before it was really made official and Hillary Clinton, through John Podesta, admitted defeat, or actually she didn't admit defeat through him. She actually phoned Donald Trump. Instead of giving a speech, she phoned Donald Trump and conceded, and Trump came and gave his victory speech. Up until then, the Dow was down about 850 points. Gold was up like $60. So things were, reacting to how, most people thought it would. But then everything turned around, and since November 9th, we've seen a one-way street in the Dow. I think we got down to almost 17,000 that night. And now we're almost at 20,000. Bond yields have gone from like 180 to now around 2.5. So they're using this as, now it's a good thing. Trump is going to reflate the economy. And the reason why I want to talk about that is because I've spoken about this book before, and The Road to Ruin. I'm still reading it. I'm on page 223. So I'm almost finished it. Good book. I recommend. Jim Rickards' book. He is an insider, and he's talked to the people who are in charge. But the reason I'm bringing this book up is because of this reflation talk. Because in this system that we have, a fiat money system, where growth of the economy is totally dependent on ever growing debt, because in the fiat money system, debt is money. So unless banks keep writing new debt, new credit to consumers, unless governments keep borrowing, unless corporations keep borrowing, unless that happens, the economy comes to a halt. And the thing is, we've been in this fiat money system globally since 1971, 73, thereabouts, so over 40 years, and it's the first time in history that we've seen the money of the world be a fiat money. And you don't even have to be a rocket scientist to realize that it comes a time where that ever increasing debt gets too cumbersome to carry, because you need to, every time, let's say, a bank issues a $100 loan, the interest on that loan is not issued. So another new loan will have to be issued to pay that interest. And it's an growing bubble, which we've seen burst quite a few times in the last 25, 30 years. And every time it bursts, it's worse than the previous time. And then the reflation that they try to throw into the system through fiscal and monetary policy is even greater. And we've had the same thing since '08. It's been, they've thrown the kitchen sink, at the system, our monetary and political leaders. And one thing that doesn't make sense to me, how much more could a Trump administration reflate the system? And the reason I come back to this book is that he talks about this, the road to ruin, and he's in this chapter he's talking about the debt. He says, and I quote, "The explosive growth of debt, personal, corporate, and sovereign, over the course of the 1990s and early 21st century is unprecedented. In the 1990s, debt growth was driven by consumer credit, home equity loans, and corporate debt. From 2000 to 2007, the mix shifted toward developed economy, sovereign debt, and subprime mortgages. After 2007, growth in developed economy sovereign debt continued while student loans and emerging markets debt grew exponentially." And he goes on to say, since 2009, emerging markets dollar-denominated corporate debt expanded by 9 trillion. Total securities issued by energy exploration and development firms, much of it below investment grade, exceeded 5 trillion. Growth in all forms of debt exceeded 60 trillion, 60 trillion, with no end in sight. He goes on to say, a standard gauge of debt sustainability is the debt to GDP ratio. From 2000 to 2013, the global debt to GDP ratio, excluding financial firms, rose from 163% to 212%. In the same period, the developed economy, that's US, UK, Western Europe, debt to GDP ratio rose from 310% to 385%. So it must be even more now. That was 2013. These trends show no pause or deleveraging as a result of the 2008 financial crisis. While private debt levels declined somewhat after 2008, growth in government debt more than made up the difference and kept total debt elevated. It goes on to say, total government debt in developed countries rose from 80% of GDP at the start of 2009 to 110% of GDP by 2014. Must be more now, of course. Emerging markets debt, driven largely by China, excluding financial firms, went from 125% of GDP at the start of 2009 to 140% by 2014. And he goes on to say the debt to GDP ratio for China alone, excluding financial firms, was over 200% by 2014. And he takes this from something called the Geneva Report, and it's published by the influential International Center for Monetary and Banking Studies based in Geneva, Switzerland. And they summarize the debt situation as follows, and I quote again, "The world is still leveraging up, the debt ratio is still rising to all-time highs. Until 2008, the leveraging was being led by developed markets, but since then, emerging economies, especially China, have been the driving force. The level of overall leverage in Japan is off the charts." And it goes on to say, contrary to widely held beliefs, 6 years from the beginning of the financial crisis in advanced economies, the global economy is not yet on a deleveraging path. Indeed, according to our assessment, the ratio of global debt, the ratio of total global debt, excluding financials over GDP, has kept increasing at an unabated pace and breaking new highs. So there you go. If we were in 2009 and Trump had just gotten elected, then yes, I'd understand the reflation trade and all the assets, like stock market going up, even bonds going up. I know we've gone down recently, but we're still at very low levels. I'd understand the reflation talk and all that. And maybe he will be able to blow this bubble a bit further, Trump and his policies and the central banks. They might be able to blow it a little bit further, but we're getting to a point, we had a bubble like that in 07, 08. It was going to go like that, but then when it started going like that, they just blew it even more. And now, we're going to get a new guy, and supposedly he's supposed to inflate it even more. What am I trying to say? One day, it will blow. I don't know when. you know, it's been very difficult making predictions, any predictions, and this is what Jim Rickett talks about. And I think one of the biggest bubbles, really, I know it's a debt bubble we've got, but on an intellectual level, I think the PhD economics bubble is the biggest bubble of them all, which basically Jim Ricketts explains that, all the PhD economists from Princeton, Harvard, Stanford, and all the big Ivy League schools, or Oxford, Cambridge, London School of Economics, they think that the economy is like a linear, it's like a car that you can, brake the car and accelerate, put the pedal down, put some more gas in the car, and like if it slows down, you just put your foot down. But it's not. His premise is that the economy is a complex organism or system, and you can't like turn the thermostat up or down. And in a complex system, things happen out of left field that you didn't expect it to happen. I have to admit, I knew there was some kind of bubble in '07 and '08, but I didn't know exactly that it was subprime mortgages. It was only after the fact that most people learned. I knew there was loads of derivatives and everything. It's a bit like now. There might be something we've never heard of that the financial engineers are doing on Wall Street in the city of London that might pop up, or something in China. You've seen how emerging market debt has grown so much as well. So yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. This talk of reflation. Yes, maybe he will be able to reflate things a bit more, but I wouldn't want to be caught in that bubble. So if you enjoy this video, please give me a thumbs up, share it far and wide. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please do. If you'd like to donate to my channel, there's some links below in the description. I accept Bitcoin, BitGold. I've got a PayPal account and a Patreon account. I'll talk to you later. Bye.